It was a stormy night, and I was working the night shift at St. Vincent's Hospital. The kind of shift where the hours drag on, and the silence feels heavier than usual. The rain was relentless, tapping against the windows like it was trying to get in. The power had flickered twice already, and the backup generators cast these long, eerie shadows down the empty hallways. I was used to the occasional creaks and groans of the old building, but tonight felt different. Around 2 a.m., I was updating patient charts when I heard it. Faint footsteps echoing from the east wing. My blood ran cold. That wing had been closed for renovations for weeks. There was no one supposed to be there. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. The footsteps grew louder, more deliberate. I grabbed my flashlight, my hands shaking, and decided to investigate. I told myself it was probably nothing, maybe a stray cat or a loose pipe. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. As I approached the east wing, the air grew colder, like I was walking into a freezer. My flashlight flickered, and for a moment, I thought it would die on me. That's when I saw it, a shadowy figure standing at the end of the hallway. It was tall, unnaturally thin, and it seemed to glide toward me without moving its legs. My breath caught in my throat. I wanted to run, but my feet felt glued to the floor. And then, it whispered my name. The voice was like nails on a chalkboard scraping against my ears. I turned to run, but the figure was suddenly behind me, closer than before. I don't even remember how I made it back to the nurse's station. I just remember slamming the door shut and locking myself in, my heart racing like it was about to burst. When I finally gathered the courage to look through the glass window, the hallway was empty. But I could still feel its presence, like it was waiting for me to let my guard down. The next morning, I asked one of the senior nurses about the East Wing. She hesitated before telling me the truth. Years ago, during a storm just like that one, a patient had died in that wing under mysterious circumstances. Ever since, staff had reported seeing a shadowy figure wandering the halls, whispering their names. I never worked the night shift again. But sometimes, when I'm alone in the dark, I still hear that voice, calling me. It was 3 a.m. on October 12th. The rain was pouring down like the sky was crying, and the streets were empty, too empty. I'd been driving my taxi for years, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened that night. I still can't explain it. I still can't forget her. I was cruising down a quiet street when I saw her, a woman standing under a flickering streetlight. She was soaked from head to toe, wearing a white dress that clung to her like a second skin. Her hair was plastered to her face, and her skin, it was pale, almost gray. She had these dark circles under her eyes, like she hadn't slept in weeks. Something about her made my stomach turn, but I pulled over anyway. She got in without a word and gave me an address on the outskirts of town. As I started driving, I tried to make small talk. "Rough night, huh?" I asked, but she didn't answer. She just stared straight ahead, her eyes fixed on the road. The rain grew heavier, and my windshield wipers were struggling to keep up. The silence in the car was suffocating. I kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror, but she never moved, never blinked. It was like she wasn't even real. Finally, we reached the address she'd given me. It was an old, run-down house on the edge of town. The windows were boarded up, and the yard was overgrown with weeds. I turned around to tell her the fare, but the back seat was empty. My heart skipped a beat. I checked the mirrors, looked around the car. Nothing. She was gone. Just gone. I stepped out into the rain, my mind racing. Maybe she jumped out while I wasn't looking. But how? The doors were locked. That's when I noticed the house. It looked abandoned, like no one had lived there in years. A neighbor across the street saw me standing there and called out, "What are you doing here?" I explained what had happened, and his face turned pale. He looked at me like I'd just told him I'd seen a ghost. "That woman you're talking about," he said, "she died in a car accident on this street 5 years ago. She's been seen hitchhiking on rainy nights ever since." I felt my blood run cold. I looked back at the house, and for a split second, I thought I saw her standing in the window, staring at me with those hollow eyes. I didn't wait around. I got back in my taxi and drove away as fast as I could. I never drove my taxi in the rain again, but sometimes, when I'm alone on a quiet street, I catch myself glancing at the rearview mirror, half expecting to see her sitting there, staring at me with those empty eyes. And I wonder, what if she's still out there, waiting for her next ride? It was midnight, and the rain was pouring so hard it felt like the sky was screaming. I was doing my usual rounds as a security guard at this old office building, the kind of place that creaks and groans like it's alive. But tonight was different. Tonight, I heard something that still gives me nightmares. I was on the second floor when I first heard it. Faint laughter coming from the basement. At first I thought it was the wind, or maybe my imagination, but it grew louder, more distinct. It sounded like children laughing, but there were no kids in the building. My stomach twisted, but I had to check it out. I grabbed my flashlight and headed for the stairs. The basement was pitch black, and my flashlight barely cut through the darkness. The laughter grew louder as I descended, but the moment I stepped into the room, it stopped. Dead silence. My flashlight flickered, and that's when I saw it. A single chair in the center of the room, rocking back and forth like someone had just been sitting in it. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I took a step closer, my flashlight shaking in my hand. The chair kept rocking, faster now, and I could swear I felt a cold breath on the back of my neck. That's when my radio crackled to life. A voice, low and distorted, whispered, "Join us!" I froze. The door behind me slammed shut, and the laughter started again, echoing from every corner of the room. My flashlight died, plunging me into complete darkness. I fumbled for the door, my hands slick with sweat, but it wouldn't budge. The laughter was deafening now, and I could feel something moving in the dark. I don't know how long I was down there, but when the lights finally came back on, the room was empty, except for the chair. It was facing me now, like it was waiting for me to sit down. I don't remember how I got out, but I ran and didn't look back. The next day, I quit. I couldn't set foot in that building again. A few weeks later, it was closed down. The workers said the basement was haunted by the spirits of employees who died in a fire decades ago. They said the laughter was their way of calling for company. But I know what I heard, and I know what I felt. That chair, it wasn't empty. Something was sitting there, waiting for me. If these stories sent chills down your spine, let me know in the comments below. Have you ever experienced something you couldn't explain? Share your own eerie encounters. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more terrifying tales. And remember, next time you're alone in the dark, you might not be as alone as you think. Until next time, stay safe and keep the lights on.